What I think is really important is to sit down with your emotions in order to heal things that were suppressed. You need to face them. And that's the hardest part, I would say. For me, that was not the hardest way. I've always known that I wanted to live and not to survive.
I'm Emily Williams, the founder of I Heart My Life and your I Heart My Life show host. I always say I'm just a girl from Ohio with really big dreams. And now I work from home running a dream business that helps you achieve your goals and create more joy in your life. This podcast is all about all the topics that really matter to you. And it's about giving you everything you need in one place: mindset, relationships, wellness, lifestyle, money, business, and career. We have it all. This is your one-stop shop for all things personal development meets lifestyle. So pull up a seat, get out a pen and paper, and get ready to learn. It's time to create a life that's better than your dreams with the I Heart My Life show. This is episode 241, exploring manifestation, entrepreneurship, and card decks with Neel van Lierop. So Neel is a spiritual entrepreneur and intuitive coach based in Amsterdam and Los Angeles. A former fashion stylist and creative agency owner, Neel had an outwardly successful career telling visual stories. However, at one point in her life, she was feeling distracted and sensing something was missing. During that time, Neel moved through many fears and awakened to a life filled with inner peace and gratitude. Her newly found self-knowledge became the foundation for 49 life themes within a card deck that she created called the Inner Compass cards. Now she's big time. People like Gwyneth Paltrow, Pink, Deborah Messing, Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Tisdale, and Jenny Garth are all using her products. And I must admit, I'm a huge fan as well. As a vessel of universal wisdom, Neel guides others towards regaining their personal power. Working with Neel offers an experience to explore and create deeper meaning in one's life. Through identifying blocks in her clients, Neel brings people closer to their innate potential and guides them to discover their own unique strengths. When I first discovered this card deck, I became obsessed. It was actually a gift from one of my friends, and now it's something I use daily to support me in moving through challenges and honestly just getting inspiration for my daily life. So I was definitely a super fan when we got to have Neel on the show here, and it was really cool because I actually pulled a card for the I Heart My Life community before interviewing her, and then she suggested we do the same thing live during this episode. And we actually pulled the exact same card. So you're going to hear what that card actually was, what is the message we have for you today, and you're going to feel so inspired to move through anything that's making you feel stuck or making you feel uninspired, and just start to trust that you are meant for more and you are being guided to the other side where everything that you want, everything you want to create, everything you want to be, everything you want to have exists specifically for you. All right, let's dive in. Welcome to the I Heart My Life show, Neel. I'm so excited to have you here and learn more about your story. And as you know, I'm a huge fan, so it's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me and for being a daily user of Inner Compass cards.
Oh, they're the best. So we share them with all of our clients, and yeah, we'll talk more about that in just a bit, but you are just such a gift, especially to me and my community. So I'm excited to have you here. So why don't you take us back? Obviously, there's a whole story before the cards. Let us know a little bit more, to give us some insight into your background and how you started to do this work and just your history.
Yeah, the fun thing is I had no ambition in this industry of self-development. I was very passionate about it, though. I think it was 2007 when I went to see a therapist, and she gave me the books of Eckhart Tolle. She noticed that I was craving for more, to know more. I was into philosophy and Taoism and all these things, but not yet in spirituality. So how long is that ago? Like 13 or maybe 14 years. So I became very, very passionate about it. Like I would stay in a bar and I would talk about pain bodies and emotions and distancing and not identifying with them and living in the now. But after a few years being very passionate about it, I was also aware of the fact that I was more carrying it as knowledge, then I was not living it. It was not integrated. So I really could give lectures about it, which I did in bars and at parties, but no one was interested in it. It was not like a big trend as it is now. But I traveled the world to see masters and teachers and other cultures, which live more intuitively or spiritually by nature. And, at a certain point, I was still, in the old life, like partying a lot. I was with a boyfriend and, well, we had future plans, but there was also, it was more about filling a void than it was like really, it was love, obviously, but, it's not the kind of love that that's out there for me, I think. I think a lot of people would recognize it. I was part of the rat race. I was ambitious in my field. I was helping creative people and creative companies to match each other like a headhunter. So I was, filling job openings with creatives until I became very ill. And at that point, my boyfriend also broke up with me. The sickness that I was suffering was insomnia, so I didn't sleep for like months. Like I was like very close and maybe a little bit psychotic. No, I had a lot of panic attacks, a few a day. So that was like the first steps of going into psychosis. And so it was like it was a big wake up call. And it took me a few years to recover, like the nervous system. It was so down that it took me a few years to build it up again. And in those years, it was where the change came, because eventually, well, in hindsight, I think that such things happen to us as a wake-up call. I'm very grateful for mine. I learned a lot from changing directions from the normal medical system into more alternative. That's where I was able to heal my body.
So before we go into how you were able to cure yourself and all of your transformation, I'm curious to know, for a lot of our listeners who are experiencing what you experienced, what was it that got you to the place of, having issues with sleep and having all of these issues with your nervous system? Was it your work schedule or what was it?
I think it's our own mind. So it's what we believe that is important. So it's about priority. If you think your work is a higher priority as your children or your body, yeah, well, you can already guess what would happen. Yeah, I really learned to ask myself what I need in the moment. The biggest switch I made in 2015 when one of my therapists said to me, like, ask yourself like 100 times a day, what do I need in this very moment? So that really helped me to live more in the now, because I was always thinking, you wake up and you think of the first coffee, you think of, I need to go to yoga, I need to sit on my cushion to do the meditation, I need to, everyone is doing the the cold water dips now. Yeah. I did that too at that time. And so there was a lot of must do's in the, every hour there were things that I had to do. From whom? Only one person. So there's only one person who's able to change this. And I decided to have peacefulness, and health as a number one priority. So your days look very different. And I decided not to have the day controlling my life or all the to-dos, but I'm in charge. I could have written the 4-hour work week, I think, because that's how I live now. I've never read it. People are always intrigued. I really decided not to have stress anymore for no reason, not even packing suitcases or while traveling and have a stopover or whatever. Inner peace is my top priority. It has everything to do with how you handle with things, because there's always stressful moments presented to you. But so it starts within your mind, what you do with it, how you react.
Yeah. So I want to dig a little bit deeper with this, because this is so it's amazing. And it's so poignant for me. I'm in the midst of doing a lot with my companies. We're also building a home. We're moving in 2 weeks. So there's a lot happening, and Christmas, right? All at the same time.
My God. And you're still here.
I'm here. Yeah. And, I know that I have a lot of work to do in terms of releasing stress. And I've actually been paying a lot of attention to my own nervous system and having conversations on the I Heart My Life show about our addiction to stress and how that manifests. And so I know, like you said, it took some time for you to really heal yourself. What were some of the first steps that you took that started to provide relief for you?
I think it would start with the awareness that something is that you can change something. I think a lot of people, I think it's about running away from what's going on inside and what you really are supposed to deal with. So we flee or run away. What's the best way to do it in a coach? Yeah. So that's the thing about behind a lot of addictions, workaholics, but also I healed myself from emotional eating the same way. So, for example, I would run away from a lonely moment or whatever. When I was younger, I would socialize too much. So I would take no alone time. After I learned to be alone, I was still eating the loneliness or other emotions away, So what I think is really important is to sit down with your emotions in order to heal things that were suppressed. You need to face them. And that's the hardest part, I would say. For me, that was not the hardest way. I've always known that I wanted to live and not to survive, and not work in order to live. But as of a very young age, after college and after university, all my friends would go for their careers. And I was always thinking, why would you want to be a number in one of those big companies? I was like, that cannot be fulfilling life. If you work, then you live someone else's lives. The CEO or the stakeholders from the companies. So that's how I became an entrepreneur in the first place. But then still, you can take it too seriously. The thing you do and identify too much with it or whatever. I learned to sit with things when I was healing the emotional eating part. Every time someone would want to fly into either work or eating or I don't know what else, dating apps.
TV. Yeah.
Yeah, TV, Netflix. Yeah, the phone. Phone is one of the biggest things right now, I think. So I trained myself to really sit with emotions, to feel them through. And that's as far as I know, the only way to heal things that were suppressed before. And then it can transform into light. It wants to be seen and felt. I think that's a really important. Well, I'm helping my ex-boyfriend now with his workaholic. He is addicted to stress.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for him, but he will have to face at one point his emotions that he's running away from.
Right. Or else it, manifests in the body in a way that we don't desire it to. So what do you think was the reason for your insomnia? Did you figure out what was suppressed or what was actually going on?
Yeah, the main thing behind it, all those books that were published all around the world by different writers who write about somatic diseases, So every physical disease is linked to an emotional conflict. I noticed that that's true. What's in all those books. It was really life inviting me to live more intuitively. So I used to be a control freak, very much depending on my controlling mind. So life really invited me to live more intuitively. And and I still need to. It's been in my life since I was 2. And then it really, really hit me when I was around 33, I think. And still it's my weak spot. I really cannot use screens at night. I have to put my phone away around 7. I try to avoid things that arouse me. So I really need to unwind. I need a couple of hours to unwind and, to have.
Yep.
I have an active brain. That's also visible in my human design. I am sure a lot of people have heard about human design. You can see I think it's one of those arrows around the head. I don't know which one, but
yeah.
You can look it up. It points out if you have an active brain or not. You have those people who can be really dreamy and stare out of the window. I'm not.
Yeah, that's not me either. I'll need to look at my chart and see if I have that little arrow. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. So one of the main things was just feeling your emotions, letting them, actually come out versus suppressing them, focusing on winding down before you were going to sleep. And you mentioned working with different therapists and asking yourself every single day, what do I need in this moment? And I'm curious to know how well, let me back up. What was your work life like during that time? Were you actually running a business or what were you doing?
Yeah, I was running a hat hunting company based in Amsterdam. And I had a very social life. I needed to go to yoga 3 times a week. I did kickboxing, that kind of, now in hindsight, I call it a rat race. Mm-hmm. Because now I live more intuitively and I really feel into my body. I barely go to yoga, only when I feel I need it because, there's no stress in my body now. So I'm not longing for yoga. I'm longing for walks with the dog. And sometimes, if I wake up and I feel like running, I go running, but it's not like I must run.
Okay. So it sounds like there was less of like a schedule and a list of the things you had to do. It was more just tuning in to what your body needed in the moment.
Exactly. So it was really weird in the beginning to make the switch because I was so used to go to the gym in the morning, and to see people and have like a ton of appointments every day. Now I only have 3 appointments a week. So I went from like 6 a day to 3 a week, which really, really helped me because now I'm looking forward. I was really, really honestly looking forward to meet you today and do this interview.
And when you say like appointments, do you mean social appointments or do you mean overall, like you only have 3 things on the calendar?
Mostly it's the 3 things on the calendar, I would say. And all the other rest, people around me know this now, and most people adopted it as well. We see each other spontaneously.
Okay.
People know that they can call me, and I always try to call people if I think. So I think this is what we are evolving towards as well.
Yes.
I think our DNA is upgrading, and we become more telepathic. It's all those things that we have. We have those skills, but it's just. We think that the controlling mind is our main tool to navigate through this life, But I think there is much, much more, and we're slowly discovering it. And so when I had it today, actually, I had 1 appointment in another city, like 1.5 hours from here, and I have a friend living there. So I was in the car and I texted him like, hey, I'm close to you today. Would you have time for a coffee? So we had a coffee, but it was like within an hour.
Right. Spontaneous. Yeah. So, okay. So this is so exciting for me to talk to you because I'm so intrigued.
And I love it. Like my this way of living.
Yeah.
Then you see that life is full of serendipity. Every day is like full of magic miracles. It's bizarre. So that's why I kind of became addicted to this lifestyle, I'm not sure if that's healthy, but no.
Well, no, I can see why. So my mind is going to, how do you run a business with that way of life? Like for me, I feel like I have all these team members, I have all these clients, all these things. And so how do you maintain almost like motivation or do the things you want to do and move through life in that way?
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm a manifestor in human design. That means that I'm not an energy type. I don't have that sacral kind of motor running. So because of that, I decided after 1 year doing everything in the company. So I published the first deck, and the very first year I did everything myself, so I was the customer service, I did the sales, I tried to do marketing, I still do the Instagram. But then after a year, there would be a salary for one person. And I decided to hire a PA in order to get myself sane again, because it's just a leak of energy if I would do all those things together myself. I know by now I'm a visionary, I'm a creative, so I really need space in order to be able to develop new products or trainings or writing.
Yeah.
Really need space. So I decided to delegate everything.
Beautiful. Okay. That's so inspiring to me. I'm a manifesting generator, so it's a little bit different, but
you have more, like you are talented. That's, so we are all different. We would like to point that out. You go better with routines, and you really like to enjoy like keeping 8 balls in the air.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Amazing.
One.
So I want to know more about the decks. And, we covered this a little bit in the beginning. I said I'm a huge fan, and we pull a card, my husband and I, pretty much daily just for inspiration. And it's always spot on. And then we've been bringing these cards to our retreats with our clients and pulling cards for them and doing them, on some of our coaching calls. And everyone just finds so much like peace and just joy from pulling the cards. So I'm curious to know, how did that come to be? How did you develop this and move forward with a project like this?
As we were talking about, I was recovering from the insomnia. I was really sick. Like my body was so weak. I couldn't go to yoga. I couldn't go for a walk. So the only routine and ritual that I had was pulling a card. My mom gave them with Christmas. And the moment she gave them, I was like, no way, those airy, fairy woo cards. And so I was always hiding them. And at a certain point, when I really needed a new ritual, I tried them out. And after 3 weeks, I was so amazed. Like, how would those cards know where I'm at in life? I was so surprised. So I started analyzing, because I do have this strong mind, I don't have it for nothing. So I started analyzing how it works, that if you pull a card blindly, well, I think that's the trick, like there is more than our controlling mind. So I like to call it intuition or subconscious. Some people call it pulling the cards from the heart instead of from the head. But by doing so, pulling blankly, there is this other intelligence which knows better in the moment what you need. And I've done so many, like thousands of readings by now. And every time they amaze me. So it's really beyond what I can think of and analyze. And so I started gifting them away, because it was really, I was so much into all this work. And then there was a simple tool, like a box with cards, that really helped me integrating those things for the very first time. I saw myself, changing over a few weeks.
And you were gifting other people's cards before you had your own?
Okay. Cards from Doreen Virtue.
Yeah.
I was always looking for, maybe that one suits that friend. And no one was really into it back then. Like Holland was later in the game than the US, In the US, it's way more mainstream now, all the spiritual tools than in Europe. People really thought that I had lost it as well, because those cards were talking about communicating with angels. And that was weird back then. At a certain point, I was already using the medicine ayahuasca sometimes. That was back then one of the ways that I was working on myself. I started to write really short messages, but it was all a theme like vulnerability. Brene Brown writes a whole book about it, Yeah. I'm only able, my gift is to bring it back to the essence in half a page. So I had a lot of those that kind of themes, like letting go, vulnerability, serendipity, all this. And I brought it back to a few sentences. So after a while, at a certain point, as an epiphany, it all came together. I had already those texts in my notebook. I was shuffling cards every day. And then at a certain point, it hit me, and I saw, it came with a vision. I knew it was going to be earthy tones and the shape of the box, like a notebook kind of shape. And so from that moment on, I knew it was going to be successful. It's really weird, but it was like really a download. Everything flowed from that moment on, like very effortlessly. The people that helped me with the designs or whatever, the editors, the translators, it would come at a perfect moment. They came into my life. I was also learning a lot. At that time, I was really feeling into all those topics like manifesting, and like you pulled the manifest card today. I was still like trying to really get the theme, what it was about. And the whole project was like playing around with all those themes and practicing it. And
wow. And is it with a deck, is it like getting a book deal? Did you have to go and find a publisher? You said you manifested the artwork and all of that, but how did that unfold?
I thought I wanted to, I'm a manifestor, so I wanted to do it by myself. And I put it on Kickstarter. That became kind of like a little bit like successful enough to get the first round printed. And there were like Chronicle Books and HarperCollins saw it, and they contacted me, but I was not ready for it, and they wanted to make it like very cheap, like a gift kind of price. I had so many downloads about it, like about the price, for example. I really like people to do effort for it, so that there is more commitment, so it has a bigger chance to be life changing.
Yeah.
So I denied the book deals.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. We talk a lot about pricing within the online space, and with my clients, money comes up a lot, and it's such an important conversation. And I love how you said, you tuned into it and also realized that if people paid more, they'd be more committed. And I think so often we just worry about, are they actually going to buy it? And that becomes the focus.
Yeah. And I'm Dutch, which is felt very Calvinistic. So later on, I ended up living in Los Angeles for a few years. And then I really learned to dream bigger. I have really weird advice as always. My journey is more about learning how to be more intuitive than back in the days, I was working for startups as well. So I knew a lot of all those startup games and all the lingo that comes with it. But we do none of that in my company. We tune into things, and we have affirmations if something goes wrong. We have how does it get any better than this affirmation? And if we have victory, we have affirmations to draw more victories towards us. And I teach the people who work for me about energy work, and the decisions that I make are always from a meditative state as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reason why I was able to not accept the book deals from the big, but it's big. I'm from Europe, from a very small country, and then those companies from San Francisco reach out to you. And back then, I really had a very clear voice in my head, like, no, you can show the world. It's your job to show the world that that you don't need those big companies, which, and it's such, I also had a vision how different those vibrations were. I had just made like something that at that time still felt like one of my babies, it was such a sacred creation. And because the words came through me, I really feel that I was just a vessel. And so it felt so sacred. Like, how can I gift that or, sell that to a company which at the end of the year only talks about numbers? It was just not possible in my head.
Yeah.
Maybe if the question would come now, I would tune into it again, and my learnings have been made, maybe, or some of them. So maybe the answer is different. I don't know.
Yeah. And so I'm curious to know, how did you manage to get into stores like Goop? That's where I initially found you. I was at a hotel in Santa Barbara, California, and the cards were sold in that Goop store. So how did that happen? Because you have such a celebrity following.
Yeah, we do. I've been there too. I did readings there a couple of days.
Oh, really
They
amazing.
invited me to, they gifted a personal reading with me to all of their regular customers.
Wow.
Yeah, I
So
love
incredible.
that.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah, me too. I set a few goals, maybe 1 or 2 a year. So we work on that. But it's also, the goals come to me. And I feel that it's really possible. I felt that Goop was on the same vibration as the cards. Yeah, I was living in LA, and I just knew at a certain time I will meet the right people, because they have an office in Santa Monica. I was living in Venice. So I thought it cannot be that hard. And at a certain point within a year, it happened. So I met this girl through friends, and she didn't know anyone at Goop, but I hired her as my PR agent. And she did a couple of phone calls over a few weeks. And then we were talking about to them. And then within a few months, it happened. Yeah. And I knew that was a smart goal to set. I imagined more buyers in the US would look at them. So right after we were live at Goop, Anthropology called us. That's, it's
huge.
Just, that's how I have a 4-hour work week. I don't work hard, I work smart.
Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me. I don't work hard, I work smart. Yeah. So great. And I love how you said you set 1 to 2 goals, because how often, I'm going to raise my hand for this one. Are we setting so many goals and then it becomes overwhelming? We're not actually working smart anymore. We're not being effective. We're just, doing way too many things. So I really appreciate that about you.
Exactly. Yeah, it really works for me, but it has to do with my priority of inner peace, of course.
Right. Yeah. So when you think about, we're nearing the end of the year and you think about 2022, maybe you can share, what are your goals for 2022, or how do you look at that? Do you just tune in and you feel into what you can visualize for the next year ahead?
I think so. I think I will sit down, I don't know when I think there's a full moon coming up. So the next new moon, I will sit down and do my intentions for the 6 months to come, because, the new moon is linked to the full moon in 6 months. So that's how I work. I feel that, you plant the seed and it grows in like 6 months, or maybe. So I think the next new moon, I will do it for a year. I will tune into what I need most, and then what the company needs. There is also things not working out, to be honest. Like, for example, I have not developed, but designed like an amazing self-reflection app. One of the features would be pulling cards, but much more. But it's been in my hat for like 3 years. But because I'm picking my battles, it's not there yet. It hasn't even started to be developed but that's also because there's a lot of money involved, and all the things that I do now, the projects that I do take on, like, for example, we're now I am here now in my new retreat center. So I've been developing that for the last year. So we have a place where we can do workshops now, but it's also, you can also rent it for a weekend. And it's almost done in 2 months.
Incredible. Yeah. So tell us about
we are here to live this life, and I really like decorating. So I took on that. Yeah. There's only one person who can live your life the way you want, so I decided to spend more time with beloveds and with things that I really enjoy, which is nature, and also decorating places like this. So
and so you mentioned your 4-hour work week. So how do you spend your time in terms of your company work? What are you filling those 4 hours with? Like, what is essential for you to do?
Steering the team, I think. So sharing my vision for the month with them, and then talking to journalists or or doing interviews like now.
Yeah. Amazing. So you have the retreat center, you have the card decks, you have the app, and you mentioned you do energy work as well. Is there anything else that you do within the company?
I don't do one-on-ones because I don't feel like that's, there's so many people offering one-on-one consults. I'm here to make I feel that I'm here to make tools that go, that can reach everybody's homes. Sometimes I do twice a year. I do workshops, and people can also book me for what do you call it? Events like. Talks and yeah.
Amazing.
And I used to do workshops like all over the world in yoga studios, but that part got canceled, obviously. The traveling and in Europe, most yoga studios are still in lockdown or half. So.
And what would you say, somebody asked me this the other day, what would you say, in all of your years of personal development, if you could pinpoint one thing that's made the biggest difference for you, what is that?
Trying to discover what the path of the soul is, instead of, so you're really like the controlling mind. I really try to keep it on the passenger seat, or my heart, or whatever you call it. Every day I invite that on the driver's seat. Surrender would be the word.
Surrender.
Like surrender to life instead of trying to steer it.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest thing that, otherwise I had never found this job.
Yeah.
I created it, but that's how people see it. But how I experienced it was really that it found me.
Yeah. One of the questions I often ask our guests is, what is one way to create a life that's better than your dreams? Because I believe that our mind can only take us so far. And when we're open, things become better than we expected, or there's unexpected things that happen that are actually what we're meant to be doing.
Yes, exactly. So my answer would be surrendering, but also opening up to like much, much more than you can even imagine.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So I want to make sure that we're able to pull a card for the audience. Are you able to do that for us?
Of course. I would love
it. So which deck do you have?
Yeah, I have all three here, but intuitively, I feel that we should use the original for now. I don't know why. So the first deck, the original, it's the black and white box. I developed that really to support people finding direction in life. And then the second one, I always use it when there's other people involved. So it's called the love deck. But it's for all the relationships that we have. And then there is the kids cards and the cards for the children. It's also really interesting for conscious parenting, I think.
I love it.
Yeah. The children like it, but I think parents even learn more because children are connected to that pureness that we are within.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're shuffling. Is there a right way to pull the cards?
I don't know. I developed them in a way, and I wrote the manual in a way that people, if I buy a new deck of cards, I never read the manual. So, so I developed mine in a compass cards as well in a way that with in mind that people would not use the manual. And so there is people who always draw cards with the left hand. I don't know. I think I use my right, to be honest. Okay. It's all control, you can just surrender to what.
Surrender.
Yeah. What I like to do is always spread them in front of me, and then I go over and then I feel which one. So here we go. Shall I ask to the listeners to close their eyes for a little bit, maybe do a little inhale so that we are really conscious of being in the moment. And then you can ask yourself a question that starts with, what do I need in order to? You finish the question, and I'm going to pull you a message. guidance for the answer. This is insane. Manifest.
Oh my gosh. That's the same card I got.
Wow, this is bizarre. It was like just here.
Oh my gosh. Crazy. Yeah, literally, let's hold mine up too, because I'm going to take a little screenshot. So crazy.
Wow. It was just before our meeting that you pulled it.
Yep. About 50 minutes ago, I pulled the same card.
Exactly. So this is,
it's always right. It's always amazing. Are you going to read it to us?
Yeah, it's for the people who still were skeptical about using cards. There's always surprises like this. But here's also the guidance for your question. This card urges you to show yourself. Each of us has a personal code, a unique light that you shine on earth. You are getting closer to your blueprint. You realize your true self. You can manifest everything you think or dream. Inner knowledge and trust lie at the core of manifestation. It is essential to know who you are and what you want before plunging into the magical adventure called manifestation. It is not built upon your willpower or resistance. Instead, it arises from the realization that what you do is right. Be careful. When you manifest from a desire based on fear or scarcity, you will only attract more. When something is right for you, you will be guided by the trust that you deserve this. You will feel what is right for you and fearlessly claim your place. Let your light shine. The world is waiting for you. Step out of the shadows and show yourself. It also came out because it was the energy of our conversation.
Yes.
Exactly the things that we were talking about.
Yes. So beautiful. And I mean, I just want everyone to go and buy this deck. It's so powerful, as you can obviously see, and it's so beautiful. The pictures, the illustrations, and your words are just, you're so talented. And thank you for creating it.
Thank you for, using it.
Yeah.
And spreading it and sharing it with the world.
Definitely. Yeah. So as we wrap up, where can people find you online and where can they buy these cards?
innercompasscards.com.
Great. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Neel. It's been a pleasure. I'm so honored to be here with you. And I just feel so inspired by the way you live your life and just, the way you tune in to what's next for you. And I know other people listening are going to feel the same. So thank you.
And I know that my life is pretty extreme, in terms of intuitively living. But I started with tiny steps, it started with one affirmation a day. And and it's only been like 5 or 6 years that I really started to change.
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. One step at a time.
One step at a time.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the I Heart My Life show. Now do us a favor and tell people about this episode. It's truly our duty to make sure that the I Heart My Life movement is spread far and wide. The truth is, life can be challenging, but it is possible for all women to love themselves and their lives. And while you're at it, send a link to this episode to 3 of your friends today, or maybe even post it on social media. Use the hashtag #IHeartMyLifeShow. That's hashtag #IHeartMyLifeShow. And if you'd like to help me personally, then please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us some stars, cheer us on, and leave a review, because believe it or not, that stuff actually really does help. And I read all of them. Please remember, everything you desire is meant for you and possible. Keep showing up, taking action, and believing in your dreams.